guys? Rob from Movie Review Time, and I am back with a brand new video. Man, I gotta tell you, I'm feeling better. I was going through, like, I had the sore throat, the chest congestion, and I was coughing, sniffing, clearing my throat. I sounded like I smoked 100 packs of cigarettes. And when I talk, like, you know, the tar and stuff would just come shooting out my mouth. Oh man, I hate feeling that way. I know you guys probably do too, but man, you just can't do anything. You just don't feel like you want to do anything, or even go to work for that matter. But you have to work, you have to pay the bills. But anyway, so yeah, I'm feeling better. Back up and at it. But today I wanted to make, it's a little bit different kind of video. I wanted to talk about my introduction to horror. I don't remember the exact age or date. All I remember is I was young and I had a paper route. Because I, like most kids, did not get an allowance. I basically had to work for my money. I actually bought my first car on my own. You know, my dad always taught me to earn your own thing, you know, and do hard work and you'll get rewarded, things like that, which is sort of like an allowance anyway. Like, you do chores around the house and you get an allowance. But anyway, I had a paper out. I had like 160 papers that I had to deliver after school. Like, the papers would be at the edge of the sidewalk down there, and I, you know, piled up, and I'd get them and fold them up and then go out on my bike and deliver them. So I got paid weekly. And I was bringing in some pretty good money. One of my favorite stores to actually go to was Suncoast Video.
Last year, our friends gave us a movie from Suncoast.
We loved it.
So now we shop here. We can get tearjerkers, musicals, and children's videos.
I like sing-alongs.
This year, we're giving movies.
Did you get me one?
There are over 10,000 great movie gifts at Suncoast, like the comedy hit Beverly Hills Cop 3, 4 Weddings and a Funeral starring Hugh Grant and Andy McDowell, and Jim Carrey in The Mask. These and hundreds of other titles are on sale now at Suncoast.
Not sure if you guys remember that store. I don't think there's any of them around anymore. I mean, I think most of them have closed. Maybe there are. I don't know. But Suncoast was... that was an experience for me. I mean, forget Best Buy, okay? Forget, you know, FYE does have some cool things, and there are FYEs around right now, but Suncoast, to me, had it all. You go in there, they had figures, they had posters, they had, you know, back in the VHS days, they just had, oh God, they had so many cool things. You go in there, it was just a movie palace. Anything to do with movies. And I just remember my parents taking me there, and I just spent hours in there just looking at different kinds of movies. I'd actually scan like every single one of them. Every genre, every section, looking for movies. And so I started to look in the horror section a lot, and because I wasn't familiar with it. The very first horror movie that I ever picked up and ever saw was this one. Friday the 13th Part 3. Why I picked Part 3? I think it was because they did not have the first two. I think that's what it was, because it makes no sense for me to actually get this first. But anyway, they had this there, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh my God. You look at the back. It shows a guy in a hockey mask. And I'm just like, you know, I'm reading it, and I'm like, this sounds really cool, and like, you know, it's a horror film. So I'm like, you know, I'm gonna get it. And I think it was like, I don't know if it was like $14.95 or something like that. I remember I could only get one. when I first went. And I picked up Friday the 13th Part 3 on VHS. I brought it home. I couldn't wait to watch it. Put it in the VCR, and I loved it. This was the very first horror film that I ever saw. And the very first Friday the 13th movie I owned. But here's the thing. I loved it so much, I went to Suncoast every week. Every week I got paid. Got paid on Friday. I'd go to Suncoast, and I'd make it my goal to get 2 tapes. And, it was costing me a pretty penny because, I was making some good money per week, but that was, back then, it seemed like it was good. But still, you could spend it all in Suncoast if you weren't careful because their prices were kind of high. So, this was the first one I picked up, and it was the first one that I ever saw. And I'm like, I am going to collect every single Friday the 13th movie. I'm going to get them all. So then, the next time I went into Suncoast Video, which was a week later, I picked up Friday the 13th and Friday the 13th Part 2. Then, after that, I'd pick up Friday the 13th Part 4 and 5. After that, I'd pick up 6 and 7, and then I picked up 8. Pretty soon I had all the Paramount Friday the 13th movies. And I just remember having them in my collection, and I would do this. I'd set them up just like I have here. And I remember my dad had a big, huge camcorder that would fit a blank VHS tape in the camcorder, and it was huge. I mean, you could hold it on your shoulder like this. The lens was huge. It was like a wide-angle lens. And I remember, because he didn't like me using it because it was like $1,000. Like, that's how much he paid for it. So it was expensive equipment. I can see why he didn't want me to because, if I dropped it and busted it, what's he going to do? So I would, I'd actually sneak it out of his room and start recording stuff. And I used to record, I've been doing this movie thing and recording me having movies and displaying them and stuff. I've been doing that since I was young. I'm 36 years old right now. So that just tells you how long I've been doing this, or have been into this. And I would, record. I don't have any of those tapes now because they're on blank VHS tapes that were probably thrown away or broken. But after I would collect the Friday the 13th movies, then I moved on to the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. And I remember picking up the very first Nightmare on Elm Street film at Suncoast. And I was like, Freddy Krueger, this is awesome. Now, while I was collecting the Friday the 13th movies and watching them, I had seen Nightmare on Elm Street on TV. So I was familiar with Freddy Krueger. I just had never seen any of the films. So then I started to collect the Nightmare on Elm Street films. I started to get 1 and 2, then 3 and 4, then 5, and then Freddy's Dead. I started to collect them all. And after I was done with that series, I started to collect the Halloween movies. And you can see on and on and on. And then I'd move to the next series, and I'd move to the next series. That was an experience for me. That was something that I will never forget. A lot of nostalgia, a lot of just like making it my goal to get every single movie in that series back then. And like I said, Suncoast was the place to go because they had all of it. I mean, there was some times where I'd go in there and they didn't have what I wanted. But most of the time, if I wanted to collect a series, they'd have every single movie in the series. It's just the very first time when I picked up Friday the 13th, yeah, they didn't have 1 and 2. But when I went in there the next week, they had them. So, I guess it was just a hit or miss situation. But I remember getting these films. And that was, that was my main introduction to horror. There'd be times where I would be in the living room with my dad and he would be flipping through the channels. And like Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers was on. And I think that was the very first Halloween movie that I saw all the way through. Because I remember seeing snippets of the first Halloween, but Halloween 4 was, I should say that that's my first introduction to Michael Myers, or the Halloween series. Because it was on TV and I watched it all the way through. And my dad and I kind of made a tradition during, the Halloween season to watch scary movies. And I'd watch all kinds of them. I mean, hell, like Fright Night and Candyman. And there's so many good ones. The Fog, I remember watching that. Just, there's so many great memories when it comes to horror. And I know my cousin Dan, Rocky Balboa 101, he's told me this many times, and I've kind of forgot about it, but there are certain things that I do remember that, because of me, he started to collect horror films. I actually have his collection right here that he kept in pristine condition. And I do thank him for that, all the time. But I was into horror movies at a very, very young age, where most parents would probably say, you're not going to be watching that. You're not getting that tape because it's too violent. Look at, there's someone he's stabbing, there's blood on the end of that knife, and you're not going to be watching that. I think my dad was more, he was more for it. My mom, she was just kind of like, well, you're going to have nightmares. And I'm like, really? I'm like, I've been sleeping upstairs by myself in a room since I was 5 years old. Whether it was storming out, I didn't care. I sleep in the dark. I don't sleep with no nightlight. I'm not having any nightmares now. Why would I have nightmares after seeing a horror film? The thing is, I want to say that I could tell the difference between reality and TV. If I see a horror film and someone killing somebody, that is not going to set a bad example for me as a kid. That's not going to make me go out and kill somebody. It's not going to make me think bad thoughts about doing something bad. It's not. Because I can, like I said, I can tell the difference between entertainment and, real life. Horror movies were entertaining to me. I liked watching the blood and the gore and people, getting killed different ways than the killer. I liked watching it. I thought it was entertaining. But I don't think it was a bad thing. People would probably say, well, your parents weren't good parents because they should have watched what their kid was doing. And that's my point. Like, I don't think it's bad if the kid is doing it out of watching stuff out of just being entertained and knowing the difference, knowing what is wrong. Because a lot of people today blame the video games and the violent movies on the way a child acts, and I think that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. That don't make any sense. It's some kind of mental issue then, obviously. But my point is, I enjoyed horror films at a very, very young age, and I've loved them ever since. Ever since. And I haven't stopped. It's just a passion of mine. And movie collecting in general is a passion of mine. I just wish they had stores like Suncoast around still. And if they have one near you still, like I cherish you, because I would love to go into one and just be taken back. Because the posters that they'd have up, I'm like, man, I want that poster. I want that poster. They had like action figures and just everything, music soundtracks. The whole place was just all movies, like everything, props. They had everything in there. God, it was so awesome. You can't really get that vibe anymore. Like FYE, you go into FYE, they have, you know, they have magazines, they have to deal with movies, they have figures, they have soundtracks, you know, just the regular stuff, box sets, all different kinds of films, obviously. But it just does not have that vibe that Suncoast did. Suncoast just really, oh man, I loved it. You know, now we don't even have Toys R Us, and that's another place I loved to go into when I was a kid. My kids are 4, and they got to enjoy Toys R Us just a little bit before it closed. And I made it a point for them to go in there a couple times before it closed, because I'm like, you know, I wanted you guys to experience this same Toys R Us that I went into when I was a kid, and now it's no longer there. It's a shame. I think there's a lot of good memories with that kind of stuff, and I wanted my kids to experience it. But anyway, yeah, that's my introduction to horror films and horror in general, the genre. I have a lot of fond memories of it, and till this day I love the genre, and it's still going strong. Even though a lot of the horror films, you know, it's kind of hard to come up with something new. That's why when I saw movies like A Quiet Place or like Get Out, those films are very original. And all horror films are kind of taken from others, like bits and pieces. Like you can, you know, like Quiet Place kind of reminded me of Tremors, but above ground, because these creatures, you know, they hunt through sound. So that kind of reminded me of Tremors. But yeah, like I think that there's still a lot of great ideas out there that haven't been thought of yet, and a lot of originality. And it just seems like they're just remaking everything just to make money. That's the most important thing. Not for any kind of fan service, just to make money, get people in the seats, and then just here, let's shoot out another film. Let's shoot out another one. Who cares? This is keep going. That's what I feel like they're trying to do nowadays with a lot of this stuff. They sure don't make movies like they used to. That's a given. They sure do not make movies like they used to. But anyway, guys, I wanted to make this video, just kind of share with you a little bit. I'm also going to make more of these, kind of like, I want to call them like maybe video store memories, or video, or like movie memories or something like that. That's probably what I'll call it. I'll probably call this video like, you know, Suncoast video memories, or maybe like, you know, my introduction into horror, I guess. But I'll be doing more of these. There's something else I want to talk about too, maybe in another video, about like maybe my introduction to Rocky, and you know, Rocky memories and things like that. And just different videos like the Goonies, and I think it'd be kind of fun to talk about some of those things. But anyway, guys, yeah. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to do a response to this, talk about, you know, your introduction into horror, you know, let me know in the comments what you think, what your introduction to horror was. Like I said, if you want to make a video response, you can. Yeah, I just want to share that with you. Subscribe for more content. Give it a like if you liked the video, and stay tuned for more. I'm going to be doing more list videos, more movie reviews. Like I said, more rants are coming. I have a lot more rants coming that they're new. They're not the old ones that I just posted up the old video and mashed it together so you get an idea of what I'm doing. I've got a lot of new rants coming up, man. Oh boy, I have so many things that I'm kind of pissed off about that I need to just rant and let it all out. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And also, I want to thank those of you who watched my stream playing Resident Evil 2, the remake. It was a lot of fun. I actually beat the game with Claire, testing out the new infinite bullets for the handgun. That was a lot of fun. I'm glad that you guys, you know, enjoyed that one. I'll be doing more video game stuff as well. But anyway, yeah, a lot of content coming. That's the bottom line. So this is Rob signing off, and I'll see you guys in the next one.